Hey everyone, so I am taking another look at the Wampler FearBox, which is a Halloween edition of the GearBox pedal by Andy Wood. And I've already covered it using the Simplifier MK2, and today I'm going to be using the Line 6 HX Stomp. And it has a few routing options that I'll be taking advantage of. I'm using this TRS cable to come out of the send, and then that has a tip and ring splitter which I'm using to send to channel 1 and channel 2 of this pedal. So the right effects loop is going to channel 1, the left effects loop is going to channel 2. They appear backwards in here. You read these right to left, these go left to right, so we'll just have to keep this straight. I'm using my Les Paul tuned to E flat, and I'm plugged directly into the HX Stomp. Right now I'm using, what am I using? The Jazz 120 amp, and then, which is very clean, into 412 greenback 25s. I have a room reverb set up, and then a delay that I might use at some point. So let's go ahead and kind of check out some of the sounds. So again, that's my clean sound with channel 1 engaged. Bring up the level a little bit. Alright, so that's channel 1, channel 2. Let's bring up the level. Down a little bit, bring up the gain. Let's boost them. So getting pinch harmonic squeals like that on a Jazz 120, that's really saying something. So it kind of just goes to reinforce what I was talking about in the previous videos, which is this is not something that is going to replace an amplifier, but it's going to take a traditionally clean amplifier and give you that 5150 sound and beyond. Now I am running these just straight into the front of the amp. Let's mess with the gate just a little bit. Aha, so if I drop it down, we see there's quite a bit of sound going in there already. And at this point, the way I've got it wired up, the effects loop in the HX Stomp is not going to do anything. Well, actually, yeah, did a little bit of something there. Let's go ahead and leave it off though. Let's save what I'm doing here. All right, and let's do this. Let's maybe try out a few different amps. So I think I'm just a few away from, oh, there we go. So this is kind of like a Voxy type amp. A little bit of grit to it. Let's turn that down. So more of a true clean option. Now turning on that's the right side. Okay, gives us a good clean, well, not a clean tone, but a good clean amp. Driven up there a little bit. Let's try the other side. Definitely does not sound like a Vox. And we can boost it even more. So again, getting pinch harmonics on there. The other thing I like about running this with the HX Stomp that I'm kind of surprised is that when I'm running it in the effects loop like this, I'm not really maxing out any of these channels here. Like watch, when it starts peaking, it's gonna actually flash red. Which I'm not getting it to do. It's interesting. What about the other channel? Yeah, so I feel like maybe with the HX Stomp you can actually get away with setting this thing to a little bit more extreme settings without it causing issues with your amp, or like I was running into with the simplifier. Not really issues, just you kind of have to be careful. And I feel like here you can be less careful, is all that it is. So that's with the Vox. Let's change out the amp. I did Vox and Fender and Marshall, the other thing. So let's go to my favorites. I've got, let's do the US Princess. So that is a Fender combo. Traditionally, I'm using the 412 cab though. Good clean sound. Alright, channel 2. So again, that's from a clean amp setup. And let's finish off with a Marshall amp. Let's try that. Let's see, back to this Marshall setting right here. So this has got the most gain that we've had so far. Sounds good. Let's go to here. Let's boost it. Yeah, I could just jam on that. Let's see, I think we had a couple more in here. Let's just kind of poke around a little bit. So I got the DOS Benz Mega. Already pretty distorted. So obviously this still works with a driven amp, and it'll still push it pretty hard there, but I still think this is probably the best whenever you're running it with some kind of clean amp or something that's not too crazy distorted. You know, get you a good clean option in there too. What about the Panama? So this is an actual 5150 kind of simulation here. Of course, this is 5150, so let's see what happens. I don't know that it really adds too much to it because it's kind of already the sound. Let's go back to this. Alright, so from here, I can, if I flip the toggle switch and using both the routing, things like this, it actually doesn't do anything. But I can get the same effect. I can get the same effect over here by just grabbing one of the blocks and flipping it that way. So check that out. That's what happens if you put it after the amp. So definitely prefer it into the amp. I could go back all the way through all those amps and do the sound flipped around there, but let's just do one more thing before we go. Let's put one of these over on a different signal path here. Let's drop it there. Let's have them both running so that they're not running into each other anymore, and they're then going into this other amp. So when they're off, I'm just getting kind of a clean signal. Let's go to something cleaner, jazz. Alright, so if I turn on channel 1, I'm getting the clon sound, but I'm also getting clean in there. Which is kind of nice. Clean blend with that. Same thing over here. If I turn the level down, you can hear. Still got some clean signal. And then I'm just blending this in. Still not bad. Let's get both of them going. So they're both independently running into the amp there, which is affecting it a little bit differently there. Let's see. So left. Let's do that. That didn't make a difference there, but if I come here, grab it, drop it back into path A, big difference. Oops. You want to be careful about that. Let's try this though. So let's do this. So now we have the option of let's do this. Let's put the right one over here. I need to put this one on path B. Put this one on path A. There we go. And then move the split onto this side of it. So now what I've got is the right channel is still running into the left channel down there on its own, but I've also got it just running straight into the amp. Notice the tone kind of changed a little bit though. Almost got kind of like a telephone style sound to it. Listen to this again. corrected itself. So it does work, but I've run into this before where if you have one of the loops going before something and then you have an A-B path and one of those paths is running to a different external device, in this case it's the same device there, it can add a tiny bit of latency to it. Now, because this is digital, now this is analog, so that is helping cut down on that latency, but I can still tell there's a little bit of that kind of telephone EQ quality, a little bit of a signal drop there, probably being caused by what do they call it, phase issues there. So probably the best thing to avoid any kind of phase issues would be to have something like this where they are both kind of within a loop like this. I think that tends to help, where you've not got one loop then running into the other loop where they're kind of doing the same thing. It maybe helps even out the latency. You could either do that or just keep them on the same path. I think it's fine. There's not a huge tone difference between having those running parallel or running them in series. I think that would have been a cool thing to have on here, but you don't really need something like that. He's done stuff like that, he being Brian, on some of his other pedals where you can do like a series or parallel effect. I think that new Catacombs has something cool like that. So yeah, something that don't really need on here, but yeah, it's cool. And I do like the way that this runs with the Line 6 HX Stomp. I almost feel like that you could probably use the loops for something else and just run this into the front of it. In fact, let's do that real quick before we wrap up here. So I'm going to turn this all the way down to help us out. Unplug this. This is what the cable looks like. That's what the cable looks like on its own. And then let's do this. I'm just going to unplug this and this. Then plug the guitar cable into here. And then this cable goes into the input right there. All right. So now with the effects loop engaged, there's nothing running to them. They're not doing anything. Let's turn them off. Volume back up where it was. Okay, so now okay. Interesting. Some of that was coming from that cable. Cool. And again, no effects loop is turned on. No gate, excuse me. No effects loop either. All right, and then channel 2. Bring that volume back down. And I can flip this to make some bit of a difference. I'm not doing really anything fancy with the tone or EQ controls here. So yeah, it's kind of cool. It can be used just simply like this, plugging into the front of the HX Stomp, and then that frees up the stereo effects loop for something else. I'm impressed that I'm not able to cause clipping on the effects loop or on the input block, even with the level up all the way on this. So that could be something that could be an advantage to running this digitally. The simplifier is obviously analog and will react differently to it, but I'm actually impressed with how the HX Stomp is reacting to this. So before I wrap this up, I did want to share one thing that I thought was interesting, and I don't think this is really a problem necessarily, but let's do this. I turn this down and plug this. So the FearBox, GearBox, I'm sure is the same thing, where if you plug into the first channel 1 input, then that engages the power on the pedal just fine. If you plug into channel 2, it does not do that, and it's got to have channel 1 in there for the power. But watch this. I did some of the routing with this TRS patch cable, and when I plugged it into channel 1, it does not want to work. I thought that was really interesting, that TRS going into the input does not allow it to power on, but a regular TS, tip sleeve cable, will. And don't know that that's anything that, you know, needs to be fixed or anything. I just thought that was an interesting thing, and I'm curious why that is. So if someone has an answer for the TRS not working at all on the TS style input right there, I would be curious to hear that. Let's go ahead and wrap it up for today. I've still got a few things that I would like to cover with the FearBox before I post all these videos live, but yeah, thank you very much for checking it out, and I will finish these videos up and get them posted soon. Thanks.